How many of you in here think that you have a bad memory? Who in here thinks you got a bad, oh my gosh. All right, I got my work cut out for me, don't I? You do not have a bad memory. 20 years ago, I thought I had a bad memory, and I had all the evidence in the world to support that. I was going to the University of North Texas, kinda. I was enrolled. After 2 semesters at the University of North Texas, I got kicked out. I had a 0.9 GPA. Thanks for the support, I appreciate that. Yeah. My parents reacted totally different. But during that year suspension, and I never ended up going back, but which Kiyosaki will be happy to hear that, right? But during that year suspension, I was a telemarketer, and I was making calls all day long. Can we clean your chimney? 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 One day I called this guy, and I said, can we clean your chimney? He said, we don't want our chimney cleaned. We're trying to sell our house. Thanks for calling. And as he was hanging up the phone, I said the words that changed my life. I said, sir, don't hang up the phone. If you're trying to sell your house, you need a clean chimney. He laughed. He said, I don't know about that, but I do need a good telemarketer. Do you want to go to work for me? I sell memory training seminars, and I'll pay you more than you're making now, which was a pretty safe bet, okay? All right. Anybody could have said that to me, and they would have been right, okay? If you would have robbed me back then, you would have just been practicing, all right? I started taking down his information, and my sales manager was like, did you get a sale? I'm like, no, I got a new job. I'm going to teach memory seminars. Why in the world would I start off our session that way? Here's why. You heard I was a 2-time USA memory champion, and I've held some records. I'm about to do some memory demonstrations that may lead you to believe that I have some special ability that you don't have. Danielle, I have no special ability. I'm the most ordinary person on the planet as far as my brain, and you can attest to that. Trying to get me ready for this, and I was trying to text you things at the last minute. I should have sent you in 1987, right? However, I learned a memory system 32 years ago. And I know it's hard to believe that I learned this 32 years ago because I look like I'm 27 right now, but I am not. It's a system. Anybody can learn the system. Anybody can improve their memory. I have no special ability. If I met you today, and I said there's going to be a point in my speech where I want you to stand up. If I said those words to you, and only if I said those words to you, this is not beat up the memory guy time. If I said those words to you, could you please stand up? Could you please put your hands, well, 1 second on you. Could you please put your hands over your name tags? The lady right here in the pink dress, what's your name, ma'am? Diana, okay. This is what we're going to do. Put your hands over your name tags. Did we meet, sir? So we haven't met. Only if I met you. If I did not meet you, please sit down. So, Steve, that would be you.
I saw you.
Okay, you saw me. That makes it extremely more difficult, Steve. Okay. Okay, if I met you and I asked you to do this, you're still standing, put your hands over your name tag. If I get your name right, sit down. If I miss it, stay standing. I'm not going to get 100%, but if I got 80%, would you be happy with that? Michelle, you can sit down. Cigar, you can sit down. Carson, you can sit down. Alex, you can sit down. I believe it's Eric right here. You can go and have a seat. I believe this is Matt, and this is James, and you're Christy, and I believe this is Dana right here. You are Scott, and this is Annie right here. You're a lawyer, Lisa, and this right here is Tyler, and I believe you're Carlos, and this is Petty Officer Kim, and I never met you, sir. And this right here is Jessica, and you are Brian, and this is Danielle, and you are Stephanie, met you yesterday. You are Alexandra, this is Adrian right here, and you, sir, are Sean, and this is Marcy, and you are Valeria, is that right? And this is Sam, and you are Elias. And this right here is Jovanka, and you are Paige, and I believe this is Michelle over here, and you are Boris. This is Joe over here, and Jovanka, Yuval, and this right here is Devin, and you, sir, are Tim, and this is you are Nathan, and this is James, and you are Eddie. Here we have George, and you are Karina, and then back over here, I met you last night, Sarah, is that right? And then this is Jake, and you are Chad, and this is Ariana, and then I'm going to come over this way, and you are John, and I believe you are Craig, and this is Scott right here, and you are AJ, and I believe, sir, you are Kevin, and this is Jay, and you are Jenna Lynn, and this is Dorothy, and you are DN, and this is Roberto right here. You moved, but it didn't work, and this is Dan, and you are Carla with a K. Is it Matt? Did I meet you? Are you sure? Okay. And then right here we have Vince, and then I'm going to come back up this way, and you sir are Blake, and this is Dallas, and you are Jeff, and that is Francisco over there, and you are Louisa, and this is Ryan right here, you are Dalton, this is Brandon, you are Okef, right? Okef, and this is Shazia, and this is Alex over here, and then this gentleman right here is Chris, and this is Carter, and you are Virginia, and then right here we have Kevin, and this is Dana right here, and you are Carl, and then I'm going to come back this way, and we have Jalen, and then let's see, we're going to come back over this way, and we have Arturo, and we have Isaac, and we have Chris right here, and this gentleman right here is Dan, and then I'm going to run over here real quick, and you are Eric, is that right? And then this is Kathy, and you are Rich, and this is Clay over here, and you are Diana. I never met you, dude. I would remember that beard. I don't believe I met you either. This is Brett, this is Michael, this is Justin, you are Shay, and this right here is James, I believe. I'm going to come this way, and it's Tricity, and you are Madeline, and then right here we have JP Donnell, and then ma'am, you are Mai, okay? And then, of course, we've got Jimmy right here, and now I'm down to like a few people. Did I meet you, sir? Yes, very nice to meet you. That's everybody but a few people. Ma'am, you know what happened with you, don't you? I was so stunned by your beauty. That's pretty good, everybody but 3 people, right? All right. Stephanie, if you and I were to sit down and talk, what's the one thing you would want to talk about? What's your favorite subject? I like Texas Rangers baseball, leads me to a life of depression. What is your favorite topic? Money, sports, traveling, your family, reading? Dog Scruffy, very good. Lawyer Lisa, what's your favorite topic?
I love talking about
trust. Oh, okay, and you're a lawyer. If anybody needs a trust, right here. Annie, what's your favorite topic? Los Angeles Rams. All right, James, what do you like to talk about? Your daughter. JP, what do you like to talk about? Jesus. And you just started an organization called Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. If anybody does Jiu-Jitsu and they want to join it, reach out to this guy. JP and I do Jiu-Jitsu together. I bought some land a couple years ago, and I put on Facebook, I got 10 acres of oak trees. I need to get these oak trees cut down before I can build a road. I need to hire somebody to do this. JP messaged me and he said, dude, I'm there. I got a chainsaw. I'll see you in 2 or 3 days or whatever. We set a time. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I thought I was going to hire somebody. And JP Donnell is volunteering. And I'm going to make a point here. And it was like on a Saturday or something. And he said, what time do you want to meet? This is JP Donnell, the Navy SEAL, who's always taking a picture of his watch on Instagram at 4:30 in the morning with Rocco. I'm like, man, I want to say 9:30, I want to sleep in. But if I don't say 7:30, this guy's going to think I'm a wimp. So I said, 7:30, man. And he messaged me back and he goes, man, my wife would be okay if, I spent a little time with her that morning. Could I meet you at 9:30? And I'm like, yes, okay. JP Donnell, a guy who travels the world as a high-paid speaker, a guy who has a historic military career, a guy who is well-known with a podcast and so many things. He sees a guy on Facebook that needs some trees cut down, and he's there on a Saturday morning with his son chopping down trees. Salt of the earth guy right there. I'll never forget it. I just asked you what's your favorite subject, and I did it for a reason. There was a book. It was written in 1936. It's one of the best-selling books ever written. The author of the book was a guy named Dale Carnegie. If you know the book, just say the name. What was the name? How many of you in here have at least heard of the book, How to Win Friends and Influence People? 2 important facts come out of that book, and the first fact is this. According to Dale Carnegie, I just asked you what's your favorite subject. According to Dale Carnegie, everybody's favorite subject is actually what? That's right, my name is Ron White, and according to Dale Carnegie, what's my favorite subject? If you don't believe me, talk to me at the break, and I'll prove it to you. My ex-girlfriend said the reason we got along so well is we were both in love with the same man. According to Dale Carnegie, everybody's favorite subject is himself, and the sweetest sound of the ear is the sound of what? Now be honest with their name. Now be honest with knowing that. How many times has it happened to you? You're introduced to somebody. You're shaking their hand. My name's Ron. Your name? Scott. 2 seconds later, what happens? Forget the name. Has that happened to anybody in here? Someone say 2 hands up on that, right? If we were totally honest in that minute, we look at that person and and I've never heard anybody say this, Brandon, but the most honest thing we could say would be this. Hey, a few minutes ago when we were introduced, I wasn't even listening to you, right? Remembering names and faces can impact your business in huge ways. Let me ask you this. If 1 year from today, you knew the names of 100 people that you don't know now, you could see them at a conference, at a Starbucks, at a restaurant, at a baseball game, and remember their name. Would that expand your network? Would that expand your possibilities for income? 100 names. Could you do it in a year? I just did it in the 15 minutes that you walked in this room. Let me share with you how I did that so you can take this skill and do it as well. But before we do that, let's have just a little bit more fun. Dalton, I want you to call out a 2-digit number. And whatever you say, and don't say it just yet, but whatever you say, everybody in here is going to write down. They're either going to write it down or type it into their cell phone or something. I used to hold the record for the fastest to memorize a deck of cards in the United States. They shuffled up a deck of cards and they set it on a table and they said, go. I picked up the cards, I looked through it as fast as I could, and I set it back down. 1 minute and 27 seconds elapsed. I got another deck of cards, reassembled it to match. It was a USA record. That record stood for 2 years, and then a freak of nature came along. My record was 1 minute and 27 seconds. The current record is 19 seconds. Mine was impressive too. But I don't hold these records anymore. The records, I'm 50 years old, he's 30 years old, he's an all-American athlete, PhD student, genius IQ, beautiful wife. He's a jerk. And no, he's a good guy. I don't hold these records anymore, but let's have some fun with it. Dalton's about to give us a number, a 2-digit number, a number between 10 and 99. Whatever he says, write it down or type it into your phone in your notepad. Go. 15, so everybody write down 1-5. We're going to create a string of numbers here, and I'm going to recommend you write them out in horizontal lines versus vertical columns. Annie, a 2-digit number, so you got 15, space, another number. 27, 27. Danielle, a 2-digit number. 96, okay. 39. Well, I'm going to pace it, Mr. Big Shot. I'm 50 years old, dude. Who said that, though? Who said 99? 39. Oh, well, and you are. Francisco, if I would have known who that was, sir, I would have shown more respect. Francisco, thank you for that number. And 39, did you say? 39. So 96 and 39. Stephanie, a 2-digit number? 50. 50. 2-digit number? 17, okay. How about Madeline? 22. 22. Somebody asked Ronald Reagan how his meeting with Desmond Tutu went, and he said, so-so. So 22, 22, all right. Tricity, a 2-digit number? 78. 78, okay. Annie, a 2-digit number? 12. 12, all right. Vince, a 2-digit number? 77. Jimmy, a 2-digit number? 46. Isaac, a 2-digit number? 67. And that was after 46, right? Chris, a 2-digit number? What'd you say? 82. 82. How about Sean over here, a 2-digit number? 25. 225, 25. Next to him, Marcy, a 2-digit number, 49. Y'all are doing very good, by the way. I did this recently for a group, and I asked them for a 2-digit number, and somebody said 7. It was in Texas, you know what I'm saying? Impossible to do this there. Just for the purposes of time, normally I go to 50 digits, but normally this is a 60-minute speech, so let me just stop it there. The last one that we had was 49, is that right? So if I did the math properly, you should be looking at a 30-digit number, 15 sets of 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you about 10 seconds, and what I would like for you to do in this next 10 seconds is look over this string of numbers and memorize this string of numbers, forwards and backwards in the correct order. Go. Time's up. If I asked you right now to repeat that number, how many of you in here would agree with me it'd be a challenge for you to do that? Keep this in mind. It should be easier for you than me. You have had a chance to see the numbers. The eye is the strongest part of the memory. If you don't believe me, ask yourself this question. How many times have you said to somebody, I am so good with faces, I never forget a face, I just can't think of your... Big deal. My dog remembers your face, all right? He's never once gotten a name right. You remember what you see. How many of you ever say, I'm good with faces but not names? Here's the reason. You saw the face. You never saw the name. The mind remembers what it sees. I did not get a chance to see these numbers. I had to hear them and remember them. But the best business people are the best what? That number, I believe, should be, correct me if I get it wrong, I don't always get 100%, but it's pretty close to 1527, and then 9639, 5017, 2278, 12774667822549. Is that right? Okay. Is that right? Okay. Now let me see if I can say the number backwards. No, I'm just kidding. If I could do that, I'd be on the show on the National Geographic Channel, Brain Games, right? And I am. That number, going backwards, starting with the last digit, which is a 9, going backwards, it is 945286764271805936972551. Is that right? Okay. All right. How many of you are curious to know how I did that? Good, because it's the only thing I know how to teach you, okay? You're in luck. And we got 21 minutes and 3 seconds, and I'm going to talk fast to get this in as quickly as I can. 32 years ago, I'm sitting in front of this guy. He wants to hire me to be a memory expert. I say, I don't think I can do it. I'm not a genius. He said, you don't have to be a genius. Anybody can improve their memory. And how many of you have kids in school? If you do not teach what I'm about to share with you to your children need to be taken away from you and given to someone who loves them, okay? Every student who thinks that they are dumb, they are not dumb. They are, most of the time, maybe some of your kids are dumb, I don't know, but probably not. As a joke, and don't tell them I said that because they're not dumb. They're fearfully and wonderfully made, right, JP? They're not dumb. However, they feel dumb. Why? Because they take a test and they do bad. And then the stress gets on them. What does stress do to your memory? Makes you do worse on the next test. Then you do bad on that test. What happens? The stress increases, and what happens? You do worse on the next test. Stress is the worst enemy to your memory. The best thing you can do when you're trying to remember is stay calm. I am a memory expert. I'm asked to be here in front of a couple hundred people and do a memory demonstration. It is a risk for a memory expert or anybody to say, stand up 200 people, I'm going to see if I can remember your name. What if I did not succeed? What if I failed? So what do I have to do to make sure that doesn't happen? I have to stay relaxed. So when I'm going through and I'm saying the names, and I get to this guy, I know your name, but let's say I didn't. I get to this guy, and I didn't know his name. You did not see me standing there thinking, oh my gosh, what's his name? Okay, come on, I know you. What did I do? I kept going, and that's what you got to do in life. If you're struggling to remember something, keep going, and then come back to it. Tell your students that when they're taking tests. Put a little star or a check mark by the question and keep going. Stay relaxed. Keep your cortisol level lows. And then the more you get right, the more your confidence builds. My confidence was building as I was doing that. Then I go back and I get the last few and one or two I don't, and I got jokes in my pocket for the ones I didn't get, and everything works out fine. I was sitting in front of that guy 32 years ago, and he said, Ron, if you do these 5 things, you can remember beyond your wildest imagination. These 5 things are focus, file, picture, action, review. Focus, file, picture, action, review. Focus, file, picture, action, review. You say those with me. What are the 5 things? Focus, file, picture, action, review. What's number 1? If you're not paying attention, you're not going to be able to remember anything. Good nutrition and exercise will help your ability to focus. This right here is the most overlooked brain food. A dehydrated brain can't focus. If you're having trouble focusing, if you're having a lot of brain fog, I'm not saying this is a solution, but I'm saying give it a try. A dehydrated brain can't focus. Make sure you're hydrated. This is my 4th or 5th bottle of water today. A dehydrated brain can't focus. Spinach, blueberries, omega-3, drinking plenty of water. I have a page right here with my top 10 brain foods. How many of them wants one? Good. Go to my booth and pick one up. It's on the table, right? I got my top brain foods at my booth. But spinach, when I was training for the 2009 USA Memory Championship, I lost 20 pounds. Yes, there is something called the USA Memory Championship, and it's just as cool as it sounds, okay? It's an interesting group of guys. Most of them play Dungeons and Dragons, and they have invisible girlfriends. And in 2009, I wanted to be king of this group, so I'm training like a madman to become king of the nerds. I lost 20 pounds that year. I became the USA Memory Champion. The next year, 2010, defending my title, I lost 20 pounds that year and became the 2-time. People are always like, congrats, dude, that's 40 pounds. It is not. It was the same 20 pounds, okay? Lots of carrot cake in between my wins, okay? Focus, good nutrition, exercise, spinach, blueberries, drinking plenty of what? But if Michael Phelps walked in this room, could he remember everybody's name because he's the most fit person in the room? Probably not. So what percentage of memory is good nutrition and exercise? I would attribute what I do 1 to 2% of memory. I'm really struggling with fatigue lately, I'll be honest with you. And that does impact memory. And so I'm trying to drink plenty of water, exercise, do jujitsu, right? But with all that said, what I'm using more is technique than nutrition. 2% of what I do is nutrition. 98% is technique. So let me give you a technique to remember a name. I'm walking towards Adrian. As I'm walking towards Adrian, this is what most of us are doing. We're thinking to ourselves, what do I think of him? What does he think of me? Have I seen him before? What business deals are we going to do? What real estate deals are we going to do? Do I still have that stain on my shirt from lunch right here? Hey, my name's Ron. Good to meet you. He says his name is Adrian in that moment, but do you think you hear it? No. You don't hear a word he said because you're wondering, what does he think of me? Have I seen him before? What business deals are we going to do? You got all this stuff running around in your brain, and that's the number one reason you're not remembering names. You never heard it in the first place. So here's a little trick, James. This is the only thing you remember from my talk, and I hope you get all 5. But if this is the only thing you get from my talk, develop this habit. When you're out here and you're networking, as people are walking towards you, James and Matt, don't ask yourself, what do I think of him? What does he think of me? Have I seen him before? What business deals are we going to do? Get all of that out of your head. Instead, ask yourself this question as you're walking towards them. What is his name? 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 Do not say that out loud. What's the question you're going to ask yourself from now on when you're walking towards somebody? What's the second key to improving your memory? Water. File is number 2, but water is what I need right now. File. You need a place to store the data. You meet Michelle. If you don't have a memory system, this is what's going on in your brain. You meet Michelle. That name goes in your ear, the floor of your memory. You meet Carson, in your ear, the floor of your memory. Alex, in your ear, the floor of your memory. You hear J.P. Donnell's speech tomorrow, in your ear, the floor of your memory. It's some good stuff, and he's a total beast, but that's what's going to happen, so you need to memorize it. You hear what Robert Kiyosaki says, in your ear, the floor of your memory. Tarl Yarber, in your ear, the floor of your memory. Ken McElroy, in your ear, the floor of your memory. The name Steve, the name Lisa. You meet Karen, you meet Wendy, you meet Tom, you meet Brian, you meet Michelle, you meet Dave, you meet Doug. All this is going on the floor of your memory. And in 6 weeks from now, you see somebody that you've done business with, and they say, Lawyer Lisa, how are you doing? It's so good to see you. Brian, hey, it's so good to see you. How you doing? And Brian, those gerbils that run around in your brain, they panic, and they go, oh my God. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. That's not it. No, that's not it. No, that's not it. 2 hours later, Brian, you're driving home, and what happens? Yeah, the mind goes, ha, look what I found. Was the name up there the entire time? Yes. The problem is it was on the floor of your brain. It wasn't in a file. Pick a number, Brian, between 1 and 15 and yell it out. 15, the 15th pair of numbers was 49 on that list. One more. 12, the 12th pair of numbers was 67. On that 30-digit number, if you count to the 12th pair, you will see it was 67. How in the world do I know that? Whew, when you can get out of breath, throwing papers for 10 seconds. It's time to do some more jujitsu with JP, all right? Okay. How do I know that 67 was the 12th pair? Because he says 12. I jumped to the 12th file in my brain. What in the world is a file? This is what you need to do. How many of you have kids in school? Do this with your kids. Stand in the doorroom of every room in your house and number 5 pieces of furniture. These pieces of furniture are going to become your files. Standing in the doorway, the pieces of furniture around the room are your files. As an example, I'm going to do it now. Pretend like this is the doorway. Pretend like this is your room at your house. Number 1, pick the first big piece of furniture over here. Let's say corner. It's not a piece of furniture, but location. What's 1? 2 is the wall. What's 2? 3 is the exit sign. What's 3? 4 is the audio. What's 4? And 5 is the seats. What's 5? Let's say these together. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Do that in every room in your house. Number 20, 25, 30 pieces of furniture. And I keep saying do this with your kids. I have 0 kids, okay? So do this for yourself, adults, as well. But as a person who has no kids, one of my life's mission is to impact the lives of kids through parents. So it's y'all's responsibility, since I didn't have any, never found a woman that liked me enough to do that, Lawyer Lisa. But I didn't have kids, so it's y'all's responsibility to get this to the children for me. I'll speak at schools and that kind of stuff, but I'm being playful here, but I really want you to teach this to your kids. But adults, I want you to do this too, because this is going to help you remember anything you want to learn. Focus, file. What's the next step? Whatever you want to remember, you have to imagine it as a picture. Everybody's name in here, I have turned into a picture. Can I bring up the slides? Was that like that a minute ago? That's very depressing. All right. Take next slide. Okay, there we go. All right. Can y'all believe I get paid to do this for a living? All right, this is actually my job. That's the most difficult thing to believe right now, isn't it? There we go. I have turned 1,600 names into a picture. Steve's a stove, Lisa's the Mona Lisa, Karen is a carrot, Brian is a brain, Tom is a tomcat, Doug is Dig. If you want to get my 1,600 images for names in the next 5 seconds, there you go. Otherwise, spend a couple years, do it on your own. It'll be a beautiful few years. Don't worry about it. Whatever you want to remember, turn the name into a picture. You're getting my pictures right there for names. Steve's a stove, Lisa's the Mona Lisa, Karen is a carrot, Brian is a brain. Focus, file, picture. What's the next step? How many of you have ever been in a car accident? If it was 20 years ago, how many of you could tell me all the details of it right now? How many of you know where you were on September 11th? You know where you were on September 11th. You know the details of this accident because it was tons of action and emotion. Tyler, can I have you come up here for me, please? Can I have you come up and go ahead and stand up here on the stage for me if you would? I'm going to show the people how I memorized your name. Focus, file, picture, action. What's the last step? Review. Today I walked around and I memorized your names at lunch or in this room, and then I continued walking around staring at you for another 10 or 15 minutes, creeping you out. That was the review stage. I don't have to be creepy when I do it. I just prefer to be. But review is the key to long-term memory. Say the 5 steps with me one more time. What are they? Focus, file, picture, action, review. As I conclude in the next 8 minutes and 22 seconds, I'm going to show you how to apply these 5 steps to remember names and how to apply these 5 steps to remember the 5 points from the session that you go to next, okay? How do you apply these to remember names? As I'm walking towards Tyler, what's the first thing that I got to do? What's his name? What's his name? What's his name? What's the second thing I got to do? Find a file. If you want to remember names, the file is going to be the person's face. Every one of you, I picked out a distinctive feature on your face, something that stood out to me. Tricity, your hair stood out to me, all right? I think you got lovely hair. I'm a little bit jealous, all right? Your hair stood out to me. Brian, the eye area, and all your hair a little bit too. Danielle, your hair, okay, all right? Tyler right here. As I'm walking towards him, what do you think stood out to me on his face? His hair, his eyes, his nose, his mouth, his lips, his chin. What stood out to me? It doesn't matter. What do you think? Hair part is exactly what stood out to me. So here's the process. Now I'm doing this very rapidly. You're doing it slower, but speed comes with time. Don't get bogged down when you start jujitsu, you're not doing the moves fast. You're doing them slow. What's his name? What's his name? What's his name? Hair part, hair part, hair part, hair part. Hi, my name's Ron, and your name?
Tyler.
Tyler. I take off my tie, and where do I tie my tie? Right there. I tie my tie in his hair, and then I tell myself a story. Focus, file, picture. It has to have action and emotion. If it is a passive picture, I won't remember it. So now I take that tie and wham, I yank it out, and when I yank it out, I yank out a row of hair right there, okay? Now he walks back to his seat, and as he's walking back to his seat, I'm reviewing. Focus, file, picture, action, review. It's doing the same thing. Isaac, I got a guy laying on a table, and your goatee right here had a guy laying on a table. And there was a man standing above him with a knife, and it was coming down right there on this guy, and then all of a sudden God says, no, and so he takes it away. I created a picture on your goatee. Chris, your eyebrows, you got distinct eyebrows. I imagined a cross on your eyebrows right there, cross Chris. Carter, I imagined a car, and you got a part in your hair right there, and the car's going up in your hair. To remember a name, create a picture, pick a distinctive feature, and imagine it in a story. Just review, ask yourself who you met the day before, that kind of thing. Now, how do you apply this to remembering what you learned in a class, in a school, or giving a speech or something like that, like a tangible data, right? What were the 5 points in this room? What were they? 2, 3, 4, and 5. I'm going to give you 5 pictures, and you're going to imagine them real quickly around the room. In the corner, the picture that I want you to imagine is money. What's flying out of that corner right now? What's shooting out of that corner? On the wall, I want you to see a cuckoo clock, and a cuckoo bird pops out. Cuckoo, cuckoo. What's in the wall? What's right here? Number 3, what's our file? On the exit sign, I want you to imagine that exit sign is a cell phone, and it's lighting up and it's ringing, and the person named Exit is calling you. What's on the exit sign? Number 4, what's our file? On the audio, I want you to see a plant, and a plant grows out of that audio and it attacks the whole room. What's growing out of the audio? If you see the picture on your file with action, you will remember it. Last one, what's your file? Favorite sports team right here, which is the Texas Rangers, right? Whoever your favorite team is right here. What's right here? Favorite team. I just gave you 5 words. Say them all with me. What are they? That's how you memorize. You have a map of your house, 20, 30, 40 pieces of furniture laid out in your house, right? The next session you go to, take notes. Take notes. These are the 5 points I learned from this session. These are the 5 points I learned from Mauricio. These are the 5 points I learned from Taro. This is the 5 points I learned from Carl. This is what I learned from Robert Kiyosaki. Then when you get home, make up a Robert Kiyosaki room, a Ken McElroy room, a Taro Yarber room, a Mauricio room, and then take the 5 points you learned from each one of those people, create pictures, and imagine them around that room. Then when somebody says, what did you learn from the Limitless Conference? You say, name a speaker. And they say, Taro Yarber. And you jump to that room in your brain, and the 5 things that you learned about that person from that person are around that room. Does that make sense? Let's hypothetically say Taro Yarber's speech was, guys, today we want to learn how to make more money. The first key to making more money is managing and being good communicators, whether it's on the phone or in person. We want to grow and work together as that's probably not going to be a speech, but that's how you could remember anybody's speech. Let's flip this around. My dad died January 16th of last year. I gave his eulogy February the 1st. This way. I wrote out the 15 things I wanted to say about my dad. I imagined him around 15 pieces of furniture in my house, and I gave my dad's eulogy, not looking at any notes. Who wants to read about your dad's life when you lived it? August the 9th, August the 10th, my mom died. 200 days later, I gave her eulogy August the 27th, the exact same way. I don't travel around the country telling people this is how you do it because I think it's a great way to make a living. It's fun, but I do it because I believe in it. And when it's the 2 most important speeches of my life, this is how I gave the speeches. This is how I would remember the key points from Taro Yarber's speech. And this is how I remembered your names. Memory equals relationships. Memory equals relationships. Relationships equal business. You can use your memory to build relationships by remembering the names and the faces of people you meet. That's clear. But you can also use memory to build relationships with an audience. I'm building a relationship with you by not reading my speech, by connecting with you and having my notes internalized on pieces of furniture. Memory builds relationships. Relationships build your business. The last thing that I want to tell you about is I served in Afghanistan with much less illustrious service than J.P. Donnell. I did a lot of PowerPoint presentations is what I did. But when I returned, I wanted to pay tribute to the men and women that lost their lives, and J.P. Donnell knows a lot of those names. I had this wall created with 2,400 blanks on it because there's 2,402 people who'd lost their life in the war in Afghanistan for the United States military. I created 2,402 pieces of furniture all around Fort Worth, in restaurants and bars and bookstores and my friends' houses. I memorized these 2,402 pieces of furniture, and then I assigned a military hero who lost their life to each piece of furniture. Master Sergeant Evander Andrews, Specialist John Edmonds, Private First Class Christopher Stone Cipher, Machinist Mate Fireman Apprentice Bryant Davis, ET3 Benjamin Johnson, CIA Agent Johnny Mike Spann. I took these heroes and I memorized them, and I traveled the United States with this wall, writing out everybody who died in the war in Afghanistan from memory. It took me 10 months to memorize. It takes me 10 hours to write it out. When I'm done, I will salute the wall and the fallen heroes. I've done it on Fox and Friends 3 times. This mom hugged me and said, thank you for not letting people forget about my son. This little boy didn't want to meet me until he found out I served in Afghanistan where his daddy served. And Calvin started looking at me trying to figure out what his daddy might have looked like in real life. Did I see his daddy's face? And I said, Calvin, I'm going to make a promise to you. Your daddy was a hero. And every time I give a speech, Calvin, I will mention your daddy's name. Private First Class Austin Staggs, because he was a hero. I memorized Austin Staggs' name and all 2,402 names using the exact same system I shared with you today. I have no special ability that you do not have. Anybody can do this using the 5 steps. The 5 steps to the memory process are what? Focus, file, picture, action, review. When you walk towards somebody, the question you're going to ask yourself is what? What is their name? What is their name? Guys, please stop by my booth, pick up one of these flyers. If you don't pick one up, I'm going to have to throw them away, and trees died for you to have this information. So pick up the information. Thank you so much for having me.